King Louis XIV of France, the Sun King's grand legacy. King Louis XIV of France, known as the Sun King, was born on September 5, 1638, in the royal Château de Saint-Germain-en-Laye, France. His reign, which lasted for an impressive 72 years, from 1643 to 1715, is one of the longest and most influential in European history. This essay will trace the life and accomplishments of King Louis XIV, from his early years to his enduring legacy. Early life and childhood. Louis XIV was born to King Louis XIII and of Austria, who were both members of the House of Bourbon, a powerful royal family in Europe. His birth was a momentous occasion, as he was the long-awaited heir to the French throne. However, the early years of his life were overshadowed by political intrigue and power struggles within the French court. When Louis XIV was just 4 years old, his father, King Louis XIII, passed away, leaving him as the new king of France. Because of his young age, the kingdom was ruled by a regency, with his mother, Queen Anne of Austria, serving as regent. Throughout his childhood, Louis XIV was surrounded by political advisors, nobles, and courtiers who influenced his upbringing and education. The Fronde and early reign. During the regency of his mother, Queen Anne, France experienced a turbulent period known as the Fronde, a series of civil wars and uprisings that lasted from 1648 to 1653. These events deeply affected the young Louis XIV, who witnessed the instability and chaos that plagued the kingdom. The Fronde played a significant role in shaping Louis XIV's character and leadership style. He developed a deep aversion to the power of the nobility and a determination to centralize authority and establish his control over the country. This resolve would become a defining feature of his reign. When Louis XIV officially assumed personal rule in 1661, he embarked on a mission to strengthen the monarchy and diminish the influence of the nobility. He famously declared, "L'État, c'est moi, I am the state," reflecting his belief in the absolute authority of the monarch. Versailles and the symbol of absolute power. One of the most enduring legacies of Louis XIV's reign is the Palace of Versailles. In 1682, he moved the royal court from Paris to the Grand Palace in Versailles, a decision with profound symbolic significance. Versailles became the epicenter of the French monarchy and a place where Louis XIV could assert his absolute power. The construction and expansion of Versailles were monumental undertakings, and the palace became a symbol of the Sun King's wealth, authority, and refined taste. The court at Versailles set the standard for European courts, attracting nobles and diplomats from all over the continent. It was not only a place of political decision-making but also a venue for lavish ceremonies, entertainment, and cultural pursuits. Military campaigns and expansion. Throughout his reign, Louis XIV pursued an ambitious foreign policy that aimed at expanding the French territory and influence in Europe. His military campaigns were characterized by a series of wars, including the War of Devolution, the Dutch War, and the War of the League of Augsburg. These conflicts were part of his broader goal of securing France's dominance and establishing its borders. Louis XIV's military campaigns resulted in some territorial gains for France, including the acquisition of several border fortifications and the annexation of Alsace and portions of the Spanish Netherlands. However, these conflicts also strained the country's resources and generated resentment among neighboring nations. Religious policies. Louis XIV's reign was marked by religious strife, particularly with the Protestant Huguenots. His revocation of the Edict of Nantes in 1685, which had granted religious toleration to Protestants in France, resulted in the persecution of Huguenots and the forced conversion of many to Catholicism. The king's determination to establish religious uniformity in France was driven by his belief in the divine right of kings and the need to consolidate his authority. His actions not only had significant implications for religious freedom in France but also strained relations with other European powers, particularly Protestant states. Cultural and artistic patronage. Louis XIV was a fervent patron of the arts and played a pivotal role in shaping French culture during the period known as the Grand Siècle, or the Great Century. He supported a flourishing of literature, art, and music, and his reign is often associated with the development of French classicism. Prominent writers like Molière, Jean Racine, and Jean de La Fontaine produced their most enduring works during Louis XIV's reign. The king also sponsored the construction of the Académie Française, an institution dedicated to maintaining the purity and prestige of the French language. End of the reign and legacy. Louis XIV's long and eventful reign came to an end on September 1, 1715, when he passed away at the age of 76. His passing marked the conclusion of an era characterized by absolute monarchy, grandeur, and French dominance in Europe. Louis XIV's legacy is both complex and multifaceted. He is remembered as the quintessential absolute monarch who sought to consolidate his authority and centralize power in the monarchy. His building of Versailles and the courtly culture associated with it remain emblematic of the opulence and extravagance of the French monarchy. However, his military campaigns and expansionist policies had mixed results and left France in a state of exhaustion and significant debt. His religious policies, particularly the revocation of the Edict of Nantes, cast a shadow over his reign and are considered one of its darker aspects. In the realm of culture and the arts, Louis XIV's patronage left an enduring impact on French literature, art, and music, helping to shape the cultural identity of France for centuries to come. Conclusion. King Louis XIV, known as the Sun King, was a formidable and influential monarch in European history. His reign was marked by a commitment to absolute monarchy, the centralization of power, and a desire for territorial expansion. The splendor of Versailles and his patronage of the arts have left an indelible mark on French culture. However, the consequences of his military campaigns, religious policies, and centralized rule were complex and often fraught. Louis XIV's legacy continues to be the subject of historical debate and analysis, reflecting the multifaceted nature of his reign and the enduring impact of his rule on the course of French history.